Courtside Moms. I'm your host, Wendy Sparks. Today, my guest is Lynnita Bazley, mother of Darius Bazley of the Oklahoma City Thunder. We have so much to talk about, so sit back and relax, and let's get Lynnita on the show. Lynnita, I want to welcome you to Courtside Moms. Thank you so much for coming on the show and wanting to share your and your son's story with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. So let's go back in time. What is your first childhood memory of Darius picking up a basketball?
Oh my gosh. Literally, I don't remember the first actual basketball, but anything that was round was a ball for him. You know, normal kids. And I tell them all the time, you're not normal because normal kids, you know, their first word is like mama or dada or baba. His was ball.
Wow.
Literally was ball. And I remember him going into my mother's kitchen in the refrigerator, opening the door, and there were, you know how you have the eggs on the door and the little egg show.
Yeah.
He would go in there and grab the eggs and go ball and drop it, thinking that it would bounce back, but they were just broken eggs on the floor.
Wow.
And he wouldn't even bother to, of course he's a baby, so he would never bother to clean it up. And you wouldn't know until you go over the refrigerator. You're like, oh my gosh, all these eggs. My mother was so mad, but that would be his thing. Like everything that he thought was round was a ball. Everything.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Darius is probably saying these balls suck. They don't bounce.
No, it was just so crazy. I'm just like, this kid, like everything was a ball. And you know how you take, you know, like pictures of your babies. Back in the day, we used to go to Sears and you get the family photo packages and stuff. And every photo that we have of him from a baby on up, he had a ball, soccer ball, basketball, baseball, football. Everything was a ball. We couldn't get him to sit still if he didn't have a ball. So he had to have a ball in order for him to sit still. It was so weird.
Well, we see out of all the balls that he used to play with as a child, he obviously fell in love with basketball. Yes. So with that said, how was he introduced to playing basketball and where did he play?
So we are originally from Boston, Massachusetts. Well, in Brockton. He was born in Brockton. I'm Boston. He's Brockton. So he wanted, Mom, I want to play sports. Okay, what do you want to play? I don't know. I just want to play sports. Okay, great. So I found a basketball foundations like program. And to be honest with you, he didn't like it. He didn't like it. He was like, Mom, this is boring. I want to play games. All we do is drill. This is boring. He was probably like 7 or 8 at the time, maybe 6 or 7. He's like, I want to play a game. This is boring. And they were just teaching foundations. It was like 6 weeks of nothing but foundations. And he didn't want to do that. He wanted to play a game. And I was like, look, I paid, you play. So
you're going to love it. You're going to love it.
We're not quitting. Anything I put my money up for, you're doing it to the end.
Yeah.
So he did it, and obviously it paid off for him in the long run. But he didn't like it. He didn't want to do it at all. He did not want to do it. He was not happy with basketball.
You know what? My son neither, and he was the same age. He was not impressed whatsoever. No. He was like, you know, and it was because the coaches kept saying he's so tall, pass the ball to Cam, and that's the only play. Mm-hmm. And he kept saying, no, I don't want to do this anymore. So deuces, and we were out the gym, and it ended there until 6 years later. So I feel you. You know what I mean? I completely feel you. But at some point, obviously, Darius fell in love with it, and he started playing competitively. Talk about his, like, when did that mindset come? And he says, you know what? I'm going to go back to playing basketball, and I want to be competitive as I'm doing it.
Well, you know, when he was young, every sport that he played, he was really, really good at it. And we moved to Ohio when he was going into the 4th grade. The 4th or the 5th grade. I think it was the 4th grade.
Yeah.
And he wanted to play football so bad. And so I let him play football. And he did good, but then he hurt himself. And he didn't like that. He was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. He's never okay with hurting himself. He's like, nope, I'm not doing that one. And I was like, yes, I do not want to play
Yeah.
football either. So I was like, he doesn't want to play. Yes. So, so every time one season would end, he wanted to jump right into something. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're not my only kid. I can't afford this back to back to back to back, So I told him, you know what, I'm glad that you want to do something and I'm all for it, but you're gonna have to pick one sport and we're gonna have to stick with it. That was when he was going into the 6th grade, I want to say.
Okay.
And he ended up playing for a basketball team. I want to say it was like Lakota Lakers or something, but I'm not 100% sure. But he was playing with that, and I said, okay, this is it. We're not going back to football. We're not gonna do soccer. This is it. And he was like, yeah, I want to stick with basketball. I said, okay, basketball it is, and that's just what it's been ever since then.
Wow. So he played that until he went to high school, obviously. So I know he went both to, is it Finneytown?
Yes.
And Princeton High Schools in Ohio. So talk to us about his time with both programs to him later becoming a 5-star recruit.
Oh my. Ooh. So it's so funny because I played basketball when I was in high school, but it was like, something to do. You play basketball. And then I was a fan. I was a huge basketball fan when I was a teenager. And then it was like, I'm over it. It was like,
yeah.
It was like, I'm over it. You move on. So now here comes Darius, and he's playing. And I had coaches coming to me like, "Oh, your son is really good. He's really good." And in my mind, I'm going, I don't really care about all that. He didn't take the trash out this morning. I'm gonna have to whoop his behind when he gets in the door.
That's
you know
it.
What I mean?
That's it.
So,
yes.
That was my thing. Like, I told him to do this, and he didn't do it before he left. Like, so now I'm mad. Like, I didn't care about all that other stuff. And every year it would be like a new set of coaches approaching me about how good he was. And I would go to his games, and I'm always my kids' #1 fans in whatever they do. I'm very, very supportive. But I didn't see what they saw.
Yeah.
I just saw my son playing basketball. Like, whoop-de-doo. I see this all the time.
Yeah.
Like that's not a big thing for me. Like, okay, he's playing basketball. That's great. Wonderful. But it was just, as it grew, as more attention he started to get, because I was the mom, it's my job. And that's how we approached a lot of things in life. It's like, you know what? I'm the mom, I'm the adult. So it's my job to make sure that I'm doing the adult thing.
That's right.
Because all he's thinking about is, oh, mom, this is a good thing. I want to do this. I want to play. I want to play. And I'm like, that's great that you want to play, but who are these people?
Yeah.
Like, who are they? Where do they come from? What do they stand for? How, because I've seen a lot and I've heard a lot. And, the world of basketball, especially for high school students, is crazy, and there's a lot of, this just so, I thought the women were bad, but it's really the men. I'm sorry, guys, but it's the truth. I thought women were bad, but you guys got us beat. So, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had to deal with this from grown adults. You know what I mean? And just how conniving and deceitful people can be, all for a basketball player. It just made me say, oh, wow, now I got to protect my child. So I felt like, and I say this all the time, I felt like we were playing ping pong and I was guarding him from all the balls being dodged at him, because all he wanted to do was play basketball. That's it. He didn't care about none of the other stuff. Like, it was, hey, so-and-so wants to talk to you, or hey, so-and-so says this. Mom, and the deal was, you direct the adults to me. I will handle the adults. All you do is play ball and work on your school, and that's it. I need your grades to be right. I need your room to be clean. I need you to take the trash out when I ask you to. And then you can play ball all day long. It doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? But when it comes to the adults, they have to come through me. So
Absolutely.
it was a lot.
And I'm listening to you and I'm like, it was the same thing with me, because as moms, you're recognizing now people's agendas.
Yeah.
And you're seeing it's not the same. My son just wants to play, but
Mhm.
they're seeing what you aren't seeing, and they're seeing what Darius isn't seeing. He just wants to play. He just wants to go on the
Right.
court and that's it. He's
Right.
every kid's dream is to be in the NBA, right?
Yes.
So it's really nothing, you know what I mean? But then here you have these people that are telling you, Lynnita, your son is fantastic and he's gonna make it to the NBA and I can help him get you there. Get him there. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, how can you help? And all of a sudden they have all these certificates and degrees and everything, and truly they have nothing.
Right.
And they can foresee your son's future for what they say, but that's not true. They can foresee their own future.
Their own, yes.
That's right. So for as a mom, you know what I mean, or a parent, we got to sit there and say, hold on, we got to start filtering out these
Right.
people. So how did you manage? Because here now you're a mother of 5 kids.
Mhm.
How did you manage to filter out the good and the bad for Darius, and also to make sure that he remains successful at whatever he does in the process?
So a lot of it is prayer.
Yes.
I had to pray over everything, even the things I didn't know, because the fact still remains he was a teenage boy at that. They don't give details about anything. You know what I mean? So just the fact that he was a teenager and then he
Yeah.
was a male who doesn't talk much. It was like, how's your day? Fine. Ain't anything new? No. You know what I mean? So we gotta like pull everything out of him at this age. And
Yeah.
so just that alone, and I would always, and I because he is my second oldest child, so
Right.
all of them collectively, I always would tell them, and even the younger ones, I tell them all the time, you know what, I am, as your mom, I'm here to guide you.
Right.
I don't want to live your life for you.
Right.
So at a certain age, obviously, I can't do it so much with the younger ones because they're still young. But when
Mhm.
they become teenagers and stuff, I wanted them to make their own decisions for their own lives. But
Yeah.
we would sit down and Darius would say, "Hey, mom, um, I want to play for this team, or I want to go here, or do this, or
Yeah.
do that." And I would say, "Okay, let's sit down, let's talk about it. Why do you want to do this?" I would ask him,
Yes.
"Why do you want to do this?" And it would be a simple answer, because it's going to be fun. All my boys are going to ask me to go, I want to go too. It was something so simple. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's cool, but you're in a different bracket from your other
Yes.
friends now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you can't, like, yeah, you can do it, but who's paying for it? How are you getting there? Because now we have the NCAA looking at you as a teenager going, oh no, he accepted something from a coach. Oh no, he accepted something
That's
from a coach.
right.
And then
Mhm.
now we're in a hot seat that we didn't know that we could, that there
Yeah.
was even a hot. No one explained that to us. No one sat us down and said, hey,
Yeah.
this could happen if you do this, or this could happen if you do that. It was like you would hear little things, but
Mhm.
you didn't have the details of it. So I would say, okay, here are your reasonings. Let's come back. Give me a chance to think about it, pray about it, do my research on it, and let's bring it back. We would bring it back, and I would say, okay, we would go over pros and cons. If you
Yeah.
can live with both the pros and the cons, because we don't know what the outcome is going to be. If you can live with whatever happens, the good or the bad, then go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's how we did a lot of the decision making.
but that's good because it's teaching him also to have a healthy balance, right? And to
Right,
learn, because not everything is just so cut and dry. There's so
right.
much behind the scenes that these our kids don't know. And when you're just talking about the NCAA rules, especially, you know what I mean, NCAA, where they say,
Yeah,
well, hold on a second, you know what I mean? You're not allowed to accept anything. And which is fine, that's true, and they shouldn't. However, you have these boys who are being offered things. Hey, come play for my team. I'll give you these nice Jordans. Hey, come play for my team,
yeah,
and I'll give you all these things. And they're
yeah.
kids. Who says no to a free cell phone? Who says no to
Exactly.
a free pair of shoes?
Right.
You know what I mean? And sometimes it's don't tell your mom.
Yes.
You know, it's like, what do you mean don't tell mom? Yeah, don't tell her. You know what I mean? And they're
Yeah.
boys or they're
Yeah.
kids. What are they gonna say? You know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes it's yeah, okay, I'll take it. And then they're in this hot seat that you have no idea what the repercussions are. So it's always good to make sure that our kids are taught from the onset what
Yeah.
this is about. And especially when now you realize, like, hold on a second, like maybe my kid does have talent. Because like you're saying, you know what I mean? You're just a working mom. You're going about your business every single day. And people are saying, Darius is fabulous. You know, he's a great basketball player. And in your brain, I already know he's fabulous. He's my kid. That's fine. You know what I mean? You're like, I know. But
like, oh, well, that's great. Thanks.
Well, that's it. You're like, I know. Yeah. Anyway, you know what I mean? But at what point did you start to realize, like, hold on a second, this wasn't just your son playing basketball, but that it could lead Darius to amazing possibilities?
You know, it kind of hit me a little bit when he was playing at McDonald's All-American. When I seen him on the court and I'm looking at all the people in the arena and I'm going, wow, I think he's really good at this thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay. But it didn't really like fully set in for me until his very first NBA game. Yeah. And when I seen him, I was there at the game, but when I actually, watching him come in, I was like, normal stuff. When he actually got in the game, I said, oh my gosh, it's just so weird. Yeah. It was just like, he did it. Like he always said, Mom, I want to be in the NBA. Mom, like you said, every kid says that, right? Mom, I want to be in the NBA. But he used to want to be a police officer too. Like, woohoo. Like, all kids do that. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, okay, like, that's what you want to do. Great. Let's get you going. But when you see that your child reached his goal and beyond, it's just like, wow. Like it made me feel so proud of him. You know what I mean? Like so happy that, because it's not everybody gets to live their dream. You just get to live and just find happiness in your life. But when you set a goal at such a young age and you actually reach the goal, it's just like, wow, it's just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And where do you go from there but up, right?
Right.
Yeah. So in 2018, like we're saying, he received the invite to play the McDonald's All-American, and he played Jordan Brand Classic and then Nike Summit. So at this point, he was starting to get attention from colleges. So tell us about his recruitment process, his commitments, and then his decommitments from Ohio State and then Syracuse.
So, oh my gosh. Okay, so Ohio State was first. And I didn't go with him his first visit. So he went twice. So I didn't go his first visit. My mother went with him. Right. And I had to work. So my mom took him. And he knew we're just looking. And we're just going to look and you can ask your questions. And my mother's wonderful at asking 50 million questions. So I was like, I'll send you with grandma. You'll be fine, So he goes and they ask questions. And he comes home. He's like, Mom, it's so big. And he's like, they have this and they have that and they have this. And the pizza shop is down the street. And I'm like, oh gosh, right? So I'm like, he's like, I think I want to go there. And I'm like, but why? He was like, I don't know. It's just something inside me that just wants to go there. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, he's just really, really happy. Like he's excited. This is the first time he's been on the college campus, right? A university campus, I should say. So I'm like, oh, he's just really, really excited. So I was just like, let's think about it some more. And he just kept harassing me and hounding me. And I said, okay, are you sure you're going to want to do this? And we talked about it. And he was like, yeah, I said, but you're so young. Like, what if you change your mind later on? Because things can change. You never know, right? So he was like, no, it's not going to change. I'm just going to. I said, okay. All right. I'm going to step out and let you lead your way to your future. Let's go ahead and let's just commit. Right. And then he did. And then he says, Mom, I don't want to play at Ohio State anymore. And I'm going, like, I don't want to go through this, right?
So what happened that made him decide to change his mind?
This one, I truly don't remember what his reasoning was. I really don't remember what his reasoning was. for this one. But everybody was wonderful. Like he wasn't a complaint about, any particular person or player
Yeah.
or anything like that. I don't really remember what it was.
He
I
just
know
wants to do
I
something
think he
different.
made like a comment or something about the stats and how they play, and that kind of deterred him. I
Right.
think that was it. But I don't really remember. I would have
So
to.
it's like he wanted to play on a different platform, pretty
Yes,
much.
I think
Okay.
that's what it was.
So
And
that's how Syracuse got introduced into the.
I don't know how they got introduced, but they came along. um, and it was just funny because when I was younger, I wanted to go to Syracuse, and I
Oh,
was like, "Isn't that funny?" But and that's one of the schools that he had mentioned before, like, "Oh, I would play at Syracuse," and then here they come,
yeah.
a year or so after, and he loved it. He loved it. He liked it. He liked the campus, and then we go down there, and so at this point, before he even goes to the facility, go to the school, I
Right.
told him, I said, look, we've gone to a bunch of colleges, and to be 100% honest with you, all the colleges have the same thing. They have an arts building, a business building. They
Mm-hmm.
offer this, they offer that. I'm not interested in going to um, see what their buildings look like. I really wasn't. And I
Yeah.
told him that's because that's not your reasoning for going. That's not your purpose
Right.
for going. Your purpose is for basketball. So I told him, I said, let's focus on this. I want you to go into the the whole tour thing. But when you need to talk to the players, how does the coach talk to them? Is he disrespectful? When they lose a game, what does the locker room look like
Yeah.
after that? Like, how does that feel? And I know it's not a great thing, but you don't want to be in a locker room with a coach hollering at you and shouting and cussing you out and degrading you. That's not what you want. It's not going to make you become a better player. Yes, he's going to be mad. All of you are going to be mad. You lose the game, you're going to be upset. And
Yeah.
yes, you guys are going to holler and scream, but it's the way the criticism comes to you. Do
Right.
you mesh with the other players? Because you would be a new person coming in on players that have been there for a while.
For
Like,
sure.
so I want you to get a feel for that, because I'm not going to be in a locker room.
Yeah.
I'm not going to know these people like you're going to know them,
Yeah.
and that's what I wanted him to focus on. And, of course, yes, the campus life, the dorms, and what's around and things of that nature. But for basketball, you're going for basketball. So you need to look at really what that life is like in this setting, because you might not like it. You get there and then you're just like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be, or this is not what when I came on the visit, this wasn't the feel that I got. So you really
Yeah.
have to learn this stuff, because everybody's not going to be nice all the time, which is understandable, but you have to catch the vibes from other players that have been there for a while and know the coaches and know the players, and see what you're getting ready to jump yourself into.
Yeah. So he found some sort of comfort with Syracuse at the time.
He did.
Now he forgot all about the Ohio State pizza shop down the block. Now
Yeah.
he thought Syracuse is where it was at. So,
Yes.
so
Well, when we went on the visit, my son would sleep in a gym if he could.
yeah, of
Honestly, he
course.
really he really could. When we went on the visit, because he had already seen everything, his thing was, I just want to go to the gym. Can you unlock the gym door? Mom, you can go do everything else, but I just want it. And he literally just stayed in the gym, and he loved that facility. It was I don't know the exact name, so please don't be mad at me, but it's Carmelo Anthony's gym, something of
Yeah.
that nature.
Yeah.
And he absolutely loved it. But that's him. It's all he needs is a gym and a ball. That's it. He doesn't need
Yeah.
He doesn't need much. So that's what he liked. He liked the staff. He liked Bayheim. He liked everything about Syracuse. But his thing has always been, Mom, I don't want to go to college. college cannot teach me how to play basketball.
Okay.
And I understand that. I get it. They don't have a degree in basketball. They just have a basketball team.
Yeah.
And colleges they have wonderful basketball teams. And you have wonderful opportunities. My thing was, I want you to go to college.
Yeah.
I want you to have the education. I want you
Of
to have.
course.
My thing is, okay, like, yes, we're shooting for your ultimate goal, but can we get a backup plan in place? Can we work on the just in case part of it?
That's
Just
right.
a little bit,
That's
like
right.
just a little bit. We can just chisel that off just a little bit. It'll be a little bit easier, in case something does happen.
Absolutely.
So it was just like, I was like so nervous, like, ooh, what is my kid getting into? So it was just trying to, but when I don't know, I was not on board 100% when he said, Mom, I don't want to go to Syracuse. I'm like, here we go again. Like, the backlash from the Ohio State decommitment was rough for me. I actually learned how to ignore people through my child. Because it's not easy for a mother to ignore so many negative comments about your child. And it's if these people knew how many times I wanted to tweet back. But I didn't. I just said, you know what, I'm gonna get off this thing because it's really not, it's not healthy, right? It's not healthy. I know you understand.
I'm sitting here like,
it's so hard.
I got in trouble 2 weeks ago. I feel you. So
see, it's very, very, very hard. And I'm like, I don't want to be that parent that puts a negative name out there for this kid. Like, I want to be supportive. So I'll see stuff and I'm like, nope, I'm getting off this thing because it's close, So I'm like, nope, I can't do it. But he said, Mom, I don't want to go to Syracuse. And he gives me his reason. And it took me a while. I prayed about it and I was not happy. But I said, you know what? Number one, it's his life. Number two, he's got a point. He to me, he had a point. College is not for everyone. And I understand that. I understand that sometimes people have to, they take a gap year. People have to take that time off from high school to enter into college to find themselves, or for whatever the reasons are. Like, college is not for everybody. And I understand that. It was just what I wanted for him. And I still want for him and for all the other kids. Like, his younger brother is like, I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to be like Darius. Yeah, buddy, no, you're not Darius. You're going to school.
So get on that school bus. You're going.
We're not doing this again.
But you know what? With Darius, at least he always has the option to go back to college. It's not like it's just like a said and done. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'm not going to go. I'm never going to go. So, I mean, his road to the NBA was very different than many other players, as he first decided to bypass college and go directly to the G League. So how did that option even come about?
You know what? I vaguely heard some things about G League all through his high school, but I'm just like, I don't even know what that is. I'm not going to focus on it, whatever type of thing. But then when he said, Mom, I don't want to go to Syracuse, I want to play in the G League, my mind instantly went to my baby going into a man's world to play basketball. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, that really threw me through a loop. Like, but I didn't want to tell him, like, you're scaring me half to death right now. You know what I mean? I had to like keep it together and just say, you know what? Okay, if that's what you want to do, let me sit with this information for a little bit, and let's move forward. And that's what I had to do. Honestly, I had to sit back, because there was plenty of conversations about why he wanted to go in the G League. It was just so that he could get better. His whole high school career was, one of the comments that he was getting was he was really thin. Granted, he still is then, but he was like a pencil. And, he had the skill, but he needed the weight. And, he wanted to focus on that. He wanted to focus on more skill, more training. I remember him telling me when he was in high school, he was like, I want to play basketball like I'm in college while I'm in high school. And then when he got ready to graduate high school, he said, I want to play in college as if I'm in the NBA. So he already had that mind to be on the next level. So I said, you know what? He's the way he present things to me. Of course, it took time, but the way that he would present his ideas and his suggestions to me made me feel a little more comfortable that, okay, he actually is doing his homework on it before he brings it to me. You know what I mean? So when he came to me with the G League, I was just like, oh, I don't like this one. This one's a little scary. I was not on board with it. And it wasn't because it was a bad thing. It was because I'm being a mom, right?
That's right.
This is my baby going into, and to me, the G League, now I could have it all wrong. I don't want anybody to say like, oh, she's giving her a bad name. I'm not giving her a bad name. In my mind, again, my baby, the one that I would rock and change diapers, was going into a man's world. And it wasn't just like, yes, the NBA is a man's world as well. But to me, the G League was a little bit different because we have a bunch of grown men on the G League who are trying to get to the NBA. So their game is different. Their aggressiveness is different. And I didn't want my son caught in that. I didn't want him caught in that. I wanted it to be a smooth transition for him. Granted, I know being in the NBA is a lot of hard work. I'm not saying that it's not. Oh, no. But the game is just the play, the way they play is a little different. And I didn't want him in that. I just didn't.
Right. So it seems like you at one point now you're all over the place because you're trying to figure what is the best option for my son. And this is stuff that you as a mom has to learn, and he as a you know what I mean, as a young adult who's clueless but thinks he knows. Right. So now at this point, this is where you hired an agent?
So someone came to us and wanted to be an agent. And, we read over the contracts and everything. And we sat down at the table with a couple who were familiar with reading the contracts, because I'm like, I don't know what this means or what this is all about. And so we're going over the contract, and Darius and I both were looking at each other going, this doesn't sound right. Like, it's not. Right. For me, if I have too many questions or it's not feeling right on the inside, then I kind of want to back away from it.
100%.
So Darius gets up from the table, he walks in the other room, he comes back and he whispers in my ear and he says, "You're going to get a phone call from Rich Paul." And I was like, okay, as if I knew who that name was. I didn't. Yeah. I had at that time, I had no clue at all. But I acted like I did. I'm like,
of course.
Not a problem. Yeah.
Tell him to call me Tuesday. Yeah, I'm good.
So we're sitting at the table and he calls probably like 5 minutes after Darius said that. And he introduced himself to me and he's like, I just want to meet and talk to you. That's it. I just want to meet and talk to you. What's a good day, time, and that we can, meet up and we can just have a conversation. And we figured all that stuff out, and we ended up taking the meeting. And I said, oh wow, like it was just like night and day from the last contract to and all the stuff I was told before to what I'm having. I'm just like, that's it. Like he made it so simple. Like it was just like, and I'm just like, oh, this makes me feel better as a mother. To know that there's not like, oh, you can't do this, can't do that. Oh, no, you can't do that. You know what I mean? It's like, he's a kid. Yeah. He's going to do all of that.
Yeah.
So it just made me feel better. And the fact that they, when I say they, the whole Clutch group, they were very informative.
Yeah.
They would always keep me in the loop, and they would explain it to me. It wasn't, oh, he's got to do this because I said so. It wasn't like that. It was, hey, this is where you guys said you wanted to go, and this is how I believe you guys can get there, and this is
Right.
the opportunities that can come about it. Or we could do A, B, C. It wasn't just one straightforward thing.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
this is the best case scenario, and let me tell you why
Yeah.
or how. And then if you don't want to do this, we can try to do this, but I think we should go with this. And it's never forced. It's never, how I know for me, my parents would go, I'm like, but why? And it's because I said so. It wasn't like that. You know what I mean? It was more, they take the time to explain what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I didn't know nothing about, this is a whole nother ball. This is not high school. This is a whole
Yeah.
nother, and I didn't know how to, maneuver anything in this
Yeah.
world. I don't know I didn't know anything. I
Well,
know
it's
a
so
lot
hard to
more.
trust, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So here you
That's
have this
important.
agency or agents or whatever that come to your house, and they're sitting there, and both you and your son. Now here you have this young boy who just wants to play. And
Mhm.
he recognizes, like, wait, what? Wait, hold on
Yeah.
a second.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting there, you're both looking at each other like, hold on. And to me, if you're reading a contract or people are sitting in front of you and they're selling their souls to you, or they're asking you to sell your soul to them, and you have a bunch of questions, to me, that means their presentation sucks and probably isn't true.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then here you have another agent that comes in and says, listen,
Right.
whether they have experience or not, just listen. This is what we believe, and we're going to explain to you why. So they're giving you the option whether you want to jump on or jump off.
Right.
And that's exactly what, as parents, especially when you don't know, and even if you do know, everybody's experience is different. So what could work for your child doesn't mean it could work for someone else that you were working with. You know what I mean? So it's good that you found that comfort with Clutch Sports right away. Right. That you were able to say, okay, hold on. At the same time, it's kind of good that you had that meeting with the other agents, because now you were able to weigh the two options and says, wait, hold on. This is nonsense. Thank you for coming. Please get out my kitchen. So, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, like, yeah. Right. So, well, and Darius made a bunch of decisions, but you know what I mean? Which is good, because it just shows you that he's a deep thinker. So now he took on a different route yet again. And he decided to do an internship with New Balance for 3 months at $1 million while training on his own and preparing for the draft. I mean, this is different, definitely different. Can you please break down that story for us?
Well, so New Balance says, hey, we want to get back into basketball, right? And Darius is from Boston. New Balance is based in Boston. And, Rich is saying, I think this is a wonderful opportunity, because for Rich, it wasn't just building a basketball player. He was building a young man to become a man. So Rich was like, hey, we could go to Nike. Nike's wonderful, but he's not going to have this particular opportunity where Darius will be going into the office and learning the business. You know what I mean? He's had the opportunity to learn what all it takes to come up with a shoe. Not only to come up with it, but to actually go from start to finish. And I believe it helped Darius out a lot. It helped him out a lot, because it was not easy for him, who has never had a job in his entire life, to have to get up early in the morning and go into the office and then come home and train and go back. It took a lot of self-discipline, which he did have somewhat of the self-discipline part, but he's a kid, and he was thrown into the working adulthood, and it was good for him. I feel like it was good for me. I mean, he was, Mom, I don't know what I'm doing. Mom, I'm so nervous. And I said, that means you're on the right track, because you're nervous. And I don't care I've had multiple jobs, even as an adult, and your first day on the job is so nerve wracking, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't know your coworkers. You don't know if you're doing something right or wrong. You don't even
That's
know
right.
if you're doing the job correctly. But
Yeah.
really, all you're doing is getting your passwords and logging in and out of your systems all day. But it's
It's
nerve
true.
wracking. It's
Yeah.
so, and you get comfortable and you
Yeah.
start and things start to turn. By the time he was done, he had a whole new like his experience was great. He had a whole New Balance family that he,
Yeah.
can enjoy when he goes back to Boston and they come out and see him. And it's a lot of people don't get that experience. I'll say that.
No, and he was blessed to actually have that
Right.
experience, right?
Right.
So many people were quick to criticize the decision made, and from afar, it felt as if people were hoping to see Darius fail.
Fail.
So,
Yeah.
how did you cope through all of this and support your son?
You know, I always tell Darius, I tell all the kids, what God has for you, it's for you. Can't
Yep.
nobody take it away from you. Can't nobody give it to you. God designed you to be who you are, and He designed you for a purpose and a reason. So everything that He wants, God has always provided His needs and His wants.
Right.
Darius is not ever really he's always been such a like a good person, right?
Right.
Kids, mom, I want this. And if they don't get it, they're like so disappointed. You can see it and they throwing these tantrums. He has never been like that.
Yeah.
He had never been that type of a person. So when he was growing up, I would tell him, God made you as a special human being. And whatever you want, you just ask and he'll give it to you. And you asked for all Darius asked for was to make it to McDonald's All American and to make it into the NBA. And out of that, Darius has gotten not only that, but so many more blessings.
Yeah.
And so when people, and I felt the same thing when people would talk about him, like, I think, oh, they're waiting for him to fail. And even when, because it's out of sight, out of mind, right? So you didn't hear a lot of press about him when he took his gap year to strengthen and condition and work on his craft and everything. So you didn't hear a lot about him. But you would see, like, when they did oh my goodness, what is it called? The little combine thing, the NBA combine.
NBA combine, yeah.
And then when they would see him play, you would see different comments or hear different comments that would say, oh, he dribbled the wrong way, so he's not going to make it. Like the littlest things, they would have something to say about it. And I'm just like, wow, they're really like looking to see him to fail.
Of course.
And I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. How many people are just so negative about things? Like, just anybody can fail. I don't care how high up you are. Anybody can fail. It's nothing but a drop. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. Just watching those comments and it, like I said, I learned how to ignore them through Darius because I'm like, how do you not respond? But he was like, Mom, I don't pay attention to that because what God has for me is for me. And to hear him tell me that, I'm like, he was listening all these years, like, wow, amazing.
We as moms, we don't even listen to ourselves because we tell our kids, don't bother that. And then when we see it, we lose our minds.
Yes.
Yeah. And my son used to say to me all the time, it's not that serious, Mom. I'm like, yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
And I'm sweating and going on. And then I realized, like, wait, I'm the only one in the room mad. Like, he's playing his Xbox. Yeah. I'm reading 4,000 negative comments.
Yes.
Yeah, and he couldn't care less. So you're right. They're teaching us what we said.
Yeah. It's funny how they do it, though. It hit me one day like, oh, shoot. Did he just? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad he was listening.
Yeah. Listen, I feel you. I used to go in my room and close the door and laugh.
Yes, because you can't let them know that they're right.
Of course not.
For that at all.
Yeah. He's like, it's not that serious. Yes, it is. I walk away. And then I'd be laughing. I'm like, it really isn't though. But but you'll never be right.
I'm
So
like, he doesn't care. Why do I care? Like,
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then it dawned on me like, wait a minute. These are a lot of these comments. They come from people who don't even play the NBA. So
Thank you.
doesn't matter.
Thank you.
It doesn't matter. Like I remember I went to one of his home games, and one of the fans, they announced when he's coming into the game, and he said Darius Bazley, and me and the kids were like, "Whoa!" They're going all crazy, and they're like, "He sucks," and I was like, "Who said that?" And I was like, wait a minute. I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm just like, they're not on the court, so they don't matter. Like, just think what you want to think. You don't matter. So
you know what?
Focus on
what you should say to them is, well, thank you for paying for this ticket to see these people that suck.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
you know what? God. You're welcome. And just turn around and watch the game. Like, who cares?
Oh my gosh. It's amazing.
Who cares?
It is amazing. I had to ask Jada Paul, Chris Paul's wife, how do you deal with all the ridicule? Like, because you're sitting there amongst everybody and they're yelling and talking trash about your husband. You know what I mean? And then sometimes you have your kids next to you. How do you deal? Like, I'm just the mother. I'm not the wife. I'm the mother. Like, so how do you do it? Like, and she was like, after a while, you get used to it and you're just like, oh, whatever. It's just part of the game. It's not that they hate him as a player or hate him as a person. It's just the adrenaline of the game of it all. So just like, whatever. I said, I'm not there yet. I'm trying.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to go back a bit, he entered the draft and was invited to the combine. He was able to accomplish this without playing a second of NCAA ball. So how, as a mom at this time, were you able to guide him and to make sure that his plans really stayed the course?
As soon as we were able to sign with Clutch because of that time frame of age and everything else.
Right.
As soon as we could sign with Clutch, I was very comfortable with the decision to sign with to sign with Rich Paul, that I didn't have to take on that responsibility as much anymore. Because remember, in high school, it's all me by myself. Right. It's me. I don't know what I'm doing. So I feel like I worked overtime because I'm trying to learn it and protect him at the same time.
Of course.
Trying to make sure that, he's not affected by these grown men and their foolish antics, and then making sure that I'm well informed of what's going on and who's doing what, and what we're supposed to be doing or what we're not supposed to be doing. And then trying to make sure that he is associating himself with the right type of people.
Yeah.
So, but when we signed with Clutch, I felt relief because I didn't have to do so much. And then there were some people that tried to slide in and bypass the agency, like, oh, let me go to the mom. Like, I'm sending you right back over there because I don't have to do this anymore. I don't have to research you. I don't have to do any of this. That's their job. That's what they do. And I don't have to do it anymore. So a lot of it, for me, was just like, I was relieved that I didn't have to do so much. And it helped that Rich would call me and he would talk me through things. So it wasn't that I didn't still have to do the research or that I didn't care, because even now I still care. But it's the fact that we have that type of a relationship where if Darius is getting ready to do something, then they would call and explain, hey, you got any questions? Or if I can call them. Hey, I got a question for you. What's up? Talk to me. What's going on? Because before we signed, a lot of people I don't even know how they knew we were even talking to Clutch, actually. I don't even know how they knew. But some people would be like, oh, you got to be careful because that's, he's LeBron's agent and he's all about LeBron. And I'm just like, but that's not the guy I met. Like what you're saying is not matching,
Yep.
What I'm getting from him. Yeah, that's his agent. And yeah, that's his friend, but I'm not getting that. If I call, he answers. Even to this day, if I call, he'll answer. And there are plenty of times if he'll just reach out, hey, just want to check in, see how you're doing. Like the whole team, hey, just want to make sure you guys are good. What's going on with you? Happy Mother's Day, Merry Christmas. It's
Absolutely.
just
it's respect.
Yeah. So I don't feel like I'm excluded or don't know what's going on. I don't feel like my son is out there with the wolves and I have to still protect him. Like, yes, I still pray over your kids. I don't think that'll ever stop.
Yeah.
But, and of course, I'm always going to be concerned about their lives. I don't care how old they are, but it's not as intense as it was when he was playing in high school.
Well, and you have a better understanding of it now, too, right?
True.
I mean, I get it. As basketball moms, people come at us all the time.
Yeah.
Irregardless of who the agent is, whether the agent is a big agent, whether small agents, whether they're good or bad, it doesn't matter because, you just have to learn at one point, or we have to learn as moms just to trust.
Yes.
Because, you know what I mean? Trust the process. Because at the end of the day, our kids are in this situation and we're just going to have to guide them alongside this agency, you know what I mean? Just to make the process easier, because if not, it's not going to be well. I mean, I have people that come after me and call me up until recently, you know what I mean? And they would say the same thing that you're saying, that, oh, your agent is this and your agent is that. Oh, maybe you should change. Your son is a small fish, big pond. I'm like, yeah, I know, blah, blah, blah. Anything else? Like, you know what I mean? And they would say, like you're saying, you're like, well, I didn't meet this person that you're talking about. Oh, they're fooling you. And I'm like, really? After all these years? And then, so I would flip the conversation. So I'm the fool? Are you calling me? No. I said, oh, because you're telling me that we're foolish for staying in this company, but now you're telling me I'm not a fool. So which is it?
Right. Pick one.
Yeah. Pick one because I have things to do. No? Okay, bye. And you just have to hang out because, and then I'm thinking, how'd you get my number? Wait a minute. You know what I mean? So someone said to me the other day, take your number offline, girl. I was like, oh my God. So
I'm just like, why are you guys emailing me and sending me messages? Like, who are you people? It's crazy. It's crazy.
You know what? I said to someone who called me a couple of weeks ago and Vulture, like you said, and they just peppered me with questions, and I said, how'd you get my number? And he says, I researched very well. You know what I need help with? Researching some moms to help me get on my show. And he hung up. That's a true story. That's a true story. Because my whole point was, yes, I know. I know the Title League staff is like, what? What, he didn't tell us this? Because I forgot, guys. I'll tell you later. But anyway, yeah. That's a true story. And it's just funny. Yeah. My whole thing is, you know what? We can use your I said, I can use your ambition. Exactly what I said. What do you mean? Oh, it's for your son? No. I need help because you're such a good researcher that you're able to find my number. So, I got some moms I need to contact. And that wasn't the way I wanted to go. So, it was done. So, needless to say, my son's happy. So, anyway. So, I mean, I'm just thinking of his entire path. Do you think that helped him grow differently than had he taken the traditional way, like going to high school, then going to college, and then?
It's so funny because I can't see Darius doing anything traditional.
Yeah, me neither.
I cannot see him doing anything traditional. He's never been the one to follow anyone else's lead on anything his whole life. I can't say that I could see him as doing it differently.
Right.
I really can't. Like, would I have at the time, would I have liked him to do it differently? Absolutely. Because
for sure.
I didn't want to deal with all that backlash and all that stuff, but it wasn't about me. It's about him. But in the moment at that time, I wasn't thinking about, oh, it's about him. It's not about me. I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking, oh my gosh, they're saying all of this and they're saying all of that. And I'm just like, I'm actually, And even before he made it to the NBA, I was actually really, really happy for him that he decided to do things differently.
Yeah.
Because I always want my kids to be true to themselves, and I want them to be satisfied and happy with the decisions that they made. So
Yeah.
when he says, I don't want to do this, yeah, it may make me think like, what is wrong with this boy? But ultimately, I always will support him as long as we're both and understanding one another. I will always support him.
Yeah.
But I can't say that I can't imagine it being different.
Yeah. Of course not, because that is the road that you were on at the time.
Yeah,
So imagine it differently. Sometimes it's like, no, I can't,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
it's first of all, it's irrelevant. You know what I mean? Like,
True, true.
imagine it differently is like, whatever. You'll never, never know, right? But your son came into the NBA, had his class when it comes to business smarts. So many rookies struggle with the transition from high school
Yes,
to NBA celebrity, right?
yeah.
And his internship just seems like it prepared him for his future.
Mm,
So now looking at the draft night, I mean, he was drafted 23rd overall by the Utah Jazz.
yes,
He was then traded to the Memphis Grizzlies and
yeah.
then to Oklahoma City. So,
Hmm.
what were your emotions like on that night?
Oh my gosh, I was nervous. I was
Yeah.
very because draft night they don't tell you nothing. They don't say
Yeah.
oh like hey don't tell your kid but so and so's interested. They don't tell you anything, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like okay. So I have my own thoughts, right? I'm
Yep.
like oh Boston's gonna want him, but I didn't want him to go to Boston not because of the team. I absolutely love the Celtics because I'm from Boston. So it's kind of,
Yeah.
I absolutely love Boston. But I didn't want him to go back to Boston because I'm like, oh my goodness, we left Massachusetts when he was so young. And now that he is who he is, he's going to have all these people at him. Oh, I know you. And oh, we're family. He doesn't know those people from a hole in a
Yeah,
wall. Like,
exactly.
he knows who he knows, and that's it. But then I was just like, I had heard that Oklahoma was a really good place for young basketball players because it keeps them
Yeah.
focused and it's not he's not a like a party person. He's not one who likes to hang out in front of like and be all around people. He's never been that type of person. Like he has his friends, he'll hang out with them, but he's never been like a crowd person. So I was like, oh, maybe he should go to Oklahoma. That would be wonderful because then he could stick to his focus would stick with basketball and
Right.
he would be okay because he's pretty much a homebody ultimately.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, okay, this would be great. So I was like, it's got to be one of the two, and we're great. So when they called his name, like I can see he's getting antsy. Like he's like, oh my gosh, like the first round is, I mean, he's about to be
Right.
over.
Right.
Like, what's going on? What's going to happen? And I'm like, I actually text his agency, not Rich. I text somebody else within the
Yep.
agency, and I was like, hey, I'm so nervous. And she texts back, she's like, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. And as he's coming out to announce the 23rd pick, my phone rings and it's the agency. They're in New York at the event, and I pick up the phone and I can barely hear her because all the stuff going on in her background. I can't hear because all stuff is going on in my environment. We're at a restaurant.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hold on. Where were you
Yeah,
draft night? Hold on, and let me ask that question. Who were you with, and where were you?
We were at a restaurant with like my mom, all of his siblings,
Okay.
and my fiance at the time. And now we're married, but um, and like a few of his friends was there, a couple of his coaches that he, still interacted
Yes.
with, and I think one of his school teachers that he still talks to now
Okay.
and was there. It wasn't a whole lot of people, but there were people there, and I can feel that he's like, oh, what's going on? And I'm nervous, like, please don't disappoint my son. Please don't disappoint him. Right? So, and then I'm like, she was like, are you ready? And then I stopped listening to the phone because I heard like he was like, and the Utah Jazz, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, Darius Bazley. And I said, like, I was just so like, thank you, Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, thank God that, he's got the opportunity and,
of course.
And the whole place was just like, yeah, congratulations. So like, I was like, so grateful for that. So grateful for that.
Oh, so once you knew he was going to OKC, what were the first few days like following draft night?
Oh my gosh, my phone was going crazy with, with family and friends and reporters, because Cincinnati kept a close watch on him because he was a five-star recruit. But so it was like that was going crazy. Probably like a week. Probably like the first week, it was just amazing. I was just like, I'm not answering my phone anymore. Like, I was like, if you're not my parents, I'm not answering any more phone calls because it was so many people calling back to back to back. People that, as you know, people you haven't talked to in years, pick up the phone and call you. Yeah. So I'm just like, oh, thanks, but what are you calling for? So like, like, what?
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
So
people from kindergarten were calling you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, how'd you get my phone number?
I know. I was like, damn, Facebook.
Yeah, that's so funny. Exactly what happened.
I always ask about a player's rookie year. But first, I'm interested in how it was for you to see your son finally be on an NBA roster.
I think I was shocked, kind of like it's so weird because it wasn't the first time I had seen him on TV. It wasn't the first time that I heard his name on ESPN. It wasn't. It just. I mean, I've seen him in jerseys before. It wasn't like It wasn't. You would think like, oh, she should be used to it, but I wasn't. It was just so weird. I'm just like that's my son. Like that is my son. Like, and it's funny because even this season when he does a dunk, and I'm like, that's my son.
It's something that we can just never, ever, ever get over. When you see,
and I always say, am I the only mom that feels like?
No, you're not. I went to a restaurant yesterday with my son. And it was so funny because we were just talking about, what do you do when people come up to you? Do you ever say hi? Do you ever talk to them? Do you ever take pictures? And he's so humble. He's like, yeah. And before, I used to tell him, like, make sure you always do. You have to be nice to the fans. And yesterday, someone comes up to him, this kid, we were sitting in a restaurant, and he walks up to him, and he's like, excuse me, are you Kem Birch? And I'm like, yes, it is. And everybody's looking like, no, we're not asking you. I'm like, oh. But it is him, but okay. And the kid's looking at me like, it is. I'm like, yeah. Want a picture? Okay. And he gets up, and my friend's like, yeah, no problem. Fixing the hair. Yeah, we'll go take a picture. But it was just funny.
Yeah. We are opposite. We like to mess with people, right? So we was in Oklahoma, and somebody walks by us, and this kid, he wasn't a kid, he was probably late teenager. He was like, oh my gosh, that's Darius Bazley. And me and my oldest daughter was like, no, it's not. Yeah. That's not Darius. Yes, it is. You can't tell me I know. I was like, I'm this kid's mother. This is not Darius Bazley. I did not name my child Darius Bazley.
That's
and
funny.
He just stands there. He just starts smiling the whole time. He's just sitting there smiling. And he's just like going along with it like, no, that's not me.
Bad. My son used to do that. He used to walk up to him and, are you Kem Birch? And he's like, no. And they're like, do you play basketball? He's like, no. He goes, I play chess. Yeah. First it was chess, and then it was curling. I used to tell people that he's a national curling champion. So
that is hilarious.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. So
but I mean,
over the last,
you made it right later on.
Oh yeah, of course.
To mess with people, it's just funny.
Listen, like you said, sometimes you just have to laugh, right?
You do.
Yeah. So, how have the Thunder as an organization received you as a family?
You know what? I don't have nothing to compare it to. That's the only team he's played with so far. So,
It's okay.
but
So, how has the experience been for you then?
they, I think they're really, really sweet. You know, when I actually met some of the people in Vegas when he signed.
Hmm.
Because when they go through the trade, you gotta wait a period. They got all this paperwork and stuff to do. But when we finally signed, we were in Vegas, and they were very, very nice.
Yeah.
You know, the Darius, I was, Mom, what do you need all these pictures for? Because you're my kid. I
Yeah.
have always felt like if your face is on it, I need it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's just how I feel. So like they will send me, you know how they take pictures
Hmm.
randomly. Some of them you never see. They send me like the pictures, and I'm like, thank you. And he's like, Mom, what do you need? I'm like, just stand there and look cute. Like I got
Yeah.
this part over
Yeah.
here. Like leave me alone. so, so like I have those, and you know, they sent me a jersey, and I was like, you know, I mess with my younger kids. I'm like, haha, I got an official jersey, and you don't. Like, I'm a team member, and you're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. They had the iron-ons.
They're like, that's not fair. I was like, hey, I'm a team mom, and you're
That's
not. So,
that's funny.
but they like randomly, they actually just sent me some really cool stationery with my name embossed in the card. And I was like,
It's pretty
oh,
cool.
that's really nice. It's different. I would have never thought to do that. But I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, that's really nice. Thank you. I
Oh.
appreciate it. But like they'll send little stuff, and I got to meet Mr. Presty when we were there in December. And he was very, very nice. Like he made a point to come out and say hi when he knew that I was outside of the airport. Like he made, you know, he didn't have to. I didn't know he was even in there. You know what I mean? So like he
Hmm.
didn't have to come out and say hi. And I was like, oh, that was very nice of him, you know, to come out and to meet me and say hello and to tell me, you know, how he feels about Darius and everything. And I was like, oh, that was very nice. And like the staff that I have met, I know there's so many of them, but the staff that I actually have met, they were very, very, very nice people.
Oh,
So
that's amazing. So, over the last year, we have all had a lot to deal with so much changes through the pandemic. The NBA has found ways to push through the barriers, including playing without fans, a bubble, and a road schedule that included not leaving your hotel.
I
So,
know.
this came at the expense of our kids' mental health. How
Yeah.
did Darius cope with it all?
Um, so two things. One is normally that's what he does anyway. He goes, he does workouts, practice, whatever they do, whenever, whatever.
Right.
And then he would go back to his room or back home, and he's on that video game, right? And then he just shows up whenever he's supposed to. Normally that's what he does. There was a couple of months, I want to say January, February, maybe, where I was just like, "Are you okay?" Because he was playing off to me,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Are you okay? Do you feel okay? You want to talk about anything?" Or because and I think it for him, like he's like, Mom, how do you know when something? I'm like, I'm your mother. Like I can look at you and see,
Yeah.
and I can feel, even though you're miles and miles away from me, I can still feel. We have it's we're forever connected. Like you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
We have
I can,
superpowers. Like,
right,
yeah. Yeah.
right,
You're welcome.
exactly. So, but he would always say, No, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. But I think for him, he missed like human interaction, really. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like his family and his friends and even his teammates, like not being able to bond with them the way that he was used to bonding. You go from being a first year rookie where you create, excuse me, where you create all of these relationships with different people,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have a trade, and then you have new people on your team, and then the ones that you really can't hang out with them like you normally would, like on the road or what have you, because of the new rules. And I think it affected them maybe a little slightly different than the rest of the world without
Yeah.
human
Yeah.
interaction,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's what it is. Even though he's a homebody, like I said, he would go and hang out at his friend's house or he would have his friends come over, but not being able to have that
Yeah.
made it a little bit, I think, just a little bit difficult to deal with,
Oh, for sure.
because I'm like, are you sure you're okay? Because you don't normally play like that, or you don't
Yeah.
normally do things like that. Like, what's going on with you? So I that's he still to this day won't flat out tell me,
Yeah.
but I'm just
But it's
like,
a different type of loneliness, right?
it is. It
You know what I
really is.
mean? Like you're saying, Darius is a homebody. My son's a homebody. But there's a difference when he's home and he's playing his PlayStation versus when he's sitting in a hotel room, still by himself,
Right.
but he still could be playing PlayStation, but without the option of getting up and
Yes.
getting out that hotel room. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not
Because they would go to
totally.
the mall, they would
Yeah.
go out to eat, they would drag him. He'd be like, they're making me go to this thing and I don't want to go. But
Yeah.
I'm like, you're gonna have fun. And then he's showing me videos of them. I'm like, oh, but you didn't want to go, but you're having a good time. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but like you said, the option, you don't have
Yeah.
that option anymore because now you're in violation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he is a rules guy,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I mean, it's a good thing. It's for everybody's health. I understand, but
Yeah.
it's tough. Being in that world is tough anyway, but then being isolated from the outside world is even tougher.
From everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
From everybody.
Yeah.
Well, you've experienced so much through your son, and you've written a book about it.
Yes, I did.
Yes, I love this. So, Swish. So,
Yes.
tell us all about it, starting with what it is about and what inspired you to write this book.
So, Swish, I've always, so as he was going through high school, I honestly felt like the basketball world smacked me in my face and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. Like, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, right? I'm just a mom trying to support her kids and guide her children, and that's all I was trying to do. Now
Right.
you throw in, oh, I want to be an NBA player, and he's actually good enough to possibly be one. Well, I don't know what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah.
I have no clue. And going through the whole process with no one telling you or showing you. Thank God that he had one coach who I talk to still to this day. He had one coach who told me, don't trust anybody. He said, including me, don't
Yeah.
trust anybody. He said, but he always told me, said, I'm here if you got a question. If you need something, I'm here to tell you or guide you. And he knew a lot of people in Cincinnati, so because he grew up there, so it was easier for him to say, "Hey, so and so called me, and I don't know what to think." Like, and he would be able, "Oh, I went to school with that person," or "Oh, I played ball with that person," or so he knew like the people personally, so he could kind of tell me what their agendas were and who they were and how they operated. And he would never say, "No, don't trust this person." He would never say that, but he would just say, he would say, "Mom, I need you to just this is what I know, and I need you to just pray about it and do whatever God tells you." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wanted to write the book, especially on all the questions that I had no one to answer for me.
Yes.
Now, I understand that everybody's story is different. Nobody's story is the same. But I like to think that there are like a foundation in each chapter that you can take and say, okay, I need to look out for this. Or, oh, maybe I should do it like this. Or just to be somewhat aware of what's taking place. because as a mom, we cannot be around our kids 24/7. We
That's
just,
right.
there's no way we can do it.
Yeah.
But if we can be involved, it's very important to be involved. And you just learn as you go. That I
Oh,
have,
for sure.
I didn't have a choice. I had to. I
Yeah.
had to figure it out. We're talking about, for me, it was talking about my child's life, and that's
Yeah.
very important to me. So, you know,
Absolutely.
so that was my main thing.
So is this all about your experience only, or did you also include experiences of other parents that you met along the way?
This was mainly my experience. There are a few references to um, Jackson Hayes, who plays with the Pelicans,
Hmm. Yep.
who yes, I know his mom and everything, and Darius and him did a few workouts and stuff
Right.
together, but he didn't play much ball in high school or AAU. Actually, he played one season of AAU, but he ended up on the Pelicans. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yep.
it's I put that in there, and I didn't mention his name, but I put that in there
So
just so that people can see, like, it can happen for anybody. You
right.
know, here's a kid who barely played, only played 1 year AAU, went to school, and I think he went to Texas, I think. And then here he is. Now he's an NBA player. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So mainly the stories are about what happened to me
Yeah.
personally and what we had to deal with or what I had to think about and how I went about it. Just like I said, it's not going to be everyone's exact story, but hopefully somebody
For
can
sure.
read it and take away something and say, you know what, I need to look out for this, or I need to, oh, Lynnita said this in her book. Oh, okay, maybe I should apply this to the situation and move forward from there.
Right. So your book is really about like you're being a resource for
Yes,
other parents out there of amateur basketball
yes,
players and saying, hey, listen, this is what Darius and I did. However,
yes.
this could happen with your son or daughter too. That is
That's true.
absolutely beautiful. I mean, I read part of the book.
Oh,
I was like impressed. So good
oh,
for you.
thank
Good. No, I
you.
really was like, well, no, thank you for putting that out there. And because I was reading some of it and I'm like, oh man, I wish I did this. Or, you know what I mean? Just laughing about it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's
I think
funny
everybody
because
wishes.
I go through it again, and I don't typically read it, but I think I did an interview a while ago, and somebody asked me about the book. I was like, oh, maybe I should read it again. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I flipped through it, and I was like, oh, I probably should have did this differently. Well, it's all
Yeah.
done now, but
Well, that's it. Like we were saying before, it's
right,
irrelevant,
yes,
but
right,
sometimes you're like, you know what I mean? Oh
maybe.
well, yeah, maybe next time. Yeah. So I'm curious to know, did you document your journey as you were going through it?
You know, so I'm horrible at that, right? So as things were happening, after I calmed down, because there were some moments where I was very upset. So after I
Hmm.
calmed, I'm like, I'm gonna write about this, and I would never write it down.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is like my recollection of it, of
Yeah.
what was going on, and like,
Oh, for sure.
because most of the stories that that made me mad, I don't forget. So,
Yeah.
but the other ones, I'm just like, oh, okay, what did I do?
Yeah.
I think you gotta play it back,
It's true.
and then
It's true.
oh yeah, that's what I did, or oh yeah, that's where we went. And
Yeah.
so it was some of it was a little trying. Some of it was a little trying.
So if people want to get a copy of this book, where can they go?
Amazon.com. It is on Barnes and Nobles, but it's only online Barnes and Nobles. But definitely on Amazon. It is available on Amazon.
And it's called
And Swish.
Swish by
Yeah.
Lynnita Bazley. So
Yeah.
congratulations. So I want to know,
Mhm.
what is it like being a courtside mom to Darius Bazley?
Um, it's so funny because I don't tell anybody that's my child. It's so funny because okay, he lives in Oklahoma and we live in Georgia.
Mhm.
So like I don't tell anybody that he's my child. I don't know. I just don't. Like if they ask, some people are just like, oh my gosh, you're Darius's mom. And I'm like, yes, I'm Darius's mom. I won't deny it. But
Yeah.
but I don't typically like to say, oh, I'm Darius's mom. Like I
Yeah.
don't go and like announce it to the world.
Yeah.
But it has its fun times. It has its fun moments.
Oh, for sure.
It has and I used to tell Darius all the time, look, I know all you want to do is play basketball, but it comes with stuff, especially if you're good, right? If you're really good, and it really comes with like the fans and stuff, it comes with stuff. And he doesn't care to be a famous star or anything like that. He just wants to play ball. So I tell him, if you don't want to be bothered, stay your butt at home, right? Because what you don't want to do is give your fans a bad impression of who you are. So if you don't want to be bothered, stay at home. Yeah. Have somebody else do it, or Uber Eats, or I don't care, just stay home, right? So for me, it doesn't happen all the time. So I'll get some people like, oh my gosh, you're Darius's mom, and I'll go, yes, I'm Darius's mom, and they, and I'm like, okay, twice someone asked me to take a picture with them. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, I'm not the ball player like he is. Like, shouldn't you want to take his picture? Like, I'm just his mom. Like, why do you want to talk to me? Like,
because you're a fantastic author. Really? That's why. You know what I mean? When someone says to you they want to take a picture, you hold up that book and you be proud, okay? So ain't nothing wrong with that. So now, before we wrap up, let's learn some fun facts about Darius, okay?
Okay.
What is that go-to dish that you make that he absolutely loves?
Oh my gosh. I want to say the spaghetti. It used to be macaroni and cheese, but I think it's the spaghetti now. Yeah.
Other than a basketball, what was one item as a child he could not live without?
Oh my gosh. It was the Lightning McQueen car. He would not, he's gonna kill me. He would not let that car go. It was like I would you can't bring it to daycare. Like, just leave it in the car. He would you open the car door, that's the first thing he wants to see. If it's not there, he would have a whole fit. Like, he had to have the car.
Yeah. He's like, forget it, I'm walking. Yeah. This car sucks. Yeah. Did you have a childhood nickname for him? And if so, what was it?
Oh no, I didn't. I did not.
You seem so disappointed.
Because like his older sister, she has a nickname for all of her siblings, and they all hate their names. And they all have come to me and said, can you tell her, Tiana, to stop calling me that? And Darius is included. When he found a nickname for him, Mom, can you please tell her to stop calling me that? And I'm like, that's between you guys. But now he answers to it.
Oh, that's even funnier.
Because she won't stop. She will not stop.
She's like, this is your name. Too bad.
His name? Now it's Owen. She says, oh, I can't even say it like her. She goes, okay, Owen. Like, that's her.
Yeah.
And now he's just like, every once in a while he's like, that's not my name. And he'll just ignore her. But for the most part, he answers her. It used to be Big Worm. And he hated Big Worm. Like, on the basketball court, if he made the show, okay, Big Worm. And he was like, don't bring her to my games anymore. Like, he hated her.
Keep her home. She keeps screaming. So now we want to ask some tips and advice for our listeners. Okay. So what 3 tips would you give a mom who has to deal with a coaching decision that they do not agree with?
I always stayed in my place. I'm not the coach. So if I'm going to allow my child to play basketball for a team, then I am ultimately placing my child under their care for
Right.
that moment. So I always tend to let the coaches coach, and
Right.
I just will be the mom, the crazy mom in the stands. Like
Right.
I never overstep
Right.
that line.
So that's the advice you would give to another
Yes,
mom.
absolutely.
Perfect. So stay in your lane, pretty much,
Yes,
is what you would
pretty
tell
much.
the other mom. Yeah. Like,
Yes.
sit down, Sally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be me. Yeah. So what advice would you give to a player about how to deal with a tough teammate?
Ooh, I don't think we've ever gone through that one. Talk it out.
Yeah.
I would say just you have to find a moment where you and that player can talk. I know it can be rough at times, especially depending on the ages at the time this happens. But pretty much you got to talk things. This is a good opportunity to learn how to talk through something and
Yeah.
possibly come up with agree to disagree.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really what it is. Like come to a mutual understanding of respect for one another, and that's it.
Yeah. If you could give only one piece of advice to another courtside mom, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Oh my. I think I need that advice. I don't know what it would be. To another courtside mom, I think I would just say enjoy it. Enjoy. Like enjoy each and every moment because this is what we worked hard for.
Yeah.
Driving them back and forth to practices, making sure that they had
That is
sneakers
right.
and clothes and paying for this and paying for that, especially AAU.
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh,
Like
God.
that alone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we've made it this far. Enjoy every moment of it.
Yeah.
Every single moment.
Wow, that's great advice. I'm sure this advice we'll see in your second book. The sequel, right? Will be Swish 2. Yeah. Yeah. You read all this wonderful advice that you told us today on Courtside Moms, and you put that in your new book. Okay. So you know what, Lynnita, you are fantastic. I really, really, really appreciate you coming out Courtside Moms. I had so much fun with you today. I learned so much more about your son and learned so much about yourself. You're a fantastic, fantastic mom. And
I
thank you
enjoyed
so
being
much.
here. Thank you so much.
I'm every woman. It's all in me. Anything you want done, baby. I'm every woman. It's all in me. Anything you want done,